with Kadaria Ahmed. Here with me are Husseina Abuki, who's the other female here. She's a lecturer of mass communications at Kaduna State University. I have in front of me my brother Desmond Utomven, a journalist and publisher of Fresh News. Hello, Desmond. And to my right is Musikilu Mojid, editor-in-chief and chief operating officer at Premium Times Nigeria. Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to be talking about Mr. Peter Obi and his VP candidate. Let's go into it very quickly while I put my glasses on. So the obedience movement, it's no longer new. What do you think it's done to our landscape in Nigeria, the electoral and, the democratic landscape? I'll start with you, Musikilu.
Well, I think the obedient movement has signaled the interest of young people in our politics. Long before now, people are hardly interested in our politics. But now, you can see young people volunteering, coming up in the rain, in the sun, and taking all the risk to support a candidate. So it means that, with time, people are becoming more interested in the politics of our country, which is interesting.
Thank you. Husseina, how do you think it's shaped our democracy?
Well, for one, I think it's going to make this government and the governments that are going to come in the future more accountable, because the duo of Mr. Peter Obi and Datti Baba Ahmed, I think, is fantastic. You always see them around, you see them talking, you look at their engagement on Twitter, you look at the comments from young people especially. So I think, for one, it's going to make our democracy more accountable. Yeah.
Desmond, let me ask you, what excites you about the obedience movement?
Well, for me, the obedience movement seems to be like a missing screw that has now come into in this democratic setting. Because up until this moment, usually they don't see young people, too excited about politics that when you have political discourse, they would rather want to tune into entertainment, TV shows, and all of that at the expense of discussing what's actually shaping their future. But today you have people talking about politics, all right, rallying around a particular candidate on their own without waiting to be galvanized, as it used to be that you're waiting for a particular leader to talk to you about something before you signal your interest in it. But today you see this young obedience, as it were, all right, just doing this thing on their own. You go into the taxi, you talk, you say a word, and somebody is responding obedient. You are in a party, you are everywhere, all right. People are just driving this thing on their own. I think that is something that is worth watching, because going forward is something that I think most politicians will want to buy from Peter Obi himself.
Husseina,
yeah.
So Peter Obi left PDP and he's now with LP.
Yeah.
Do you think he expected a movement, such a huge movement, to be built around him?
I don't think so. I think it just hit him like wham, because something about him personally, when I see him speak, you could see the enthusiasm in him. You could see that he really wants to do the things that he says he wants to do for Nigeria. You could see that people really want him to talk. He's always around. He has the fact, he has the numbers, always talking to young people, talking to women. So I don't think he expected this number of people to rally around the Labour Party. I don't think anybody did, actually.
How do you cope with such a pressure? If you were Peter Obi, how does a candidate that literally was just doing his thing, and now he has this, it's beyond a movement, it's almost a religion, wouldn't you say?
Well, let me first say that it does appear that Peter Obi envisaged this kind of support. And
oh, you think so?
I think so,
okay,
because that was why perhaps he left the PDP. Because he left the PDP for a relatively unknown party. And so for him to have that kind of confidence to leave the major opposition party to the Labour Party meant there is something that he knows. Long before now, even when he declared interest to run, it was clear that he could garner support. Even in the 2019 election, he was able to garner a lot of support. But after then, he had been going for a lot of speaking engagements, and he could see that a lot of people had taken to him. And I'm sure that was why he was confident enough to say, look, if I'm not going to get the ticket of the PDP, why not let me try in the other? I'm sure this is a lot of pressure. Coming back to your question, this is a lot of pressure for him now, because even the support base is beyond his control. There are certain times you see him going on social media to caution his supporters, to say, don't do this, do this. And they will say back to him that don't caution us, let us drive this, desperate situation deserve desperate measure. So we need to do some of these things. So it's a lot of pressure, even on Peter Obi himself. So, and it's also a blessing for him because he's not driving a lot of distance. I'm not sure he's paying for a lot of the things, the rallies, people are doing T-shirts, people are, staying late into the night to tweet for him in his favor, to Facebook for him, to Instagram for him, and all of these things. So I'm sure that he's enjoying it. And we see how it ends at the end of the day.
Indeed, we will. Desmond, so if obedience is Peter Obi's strength, what are his weaknesses? Labour Party maybe, or no weaknesses? What do you think?
Well, looking at Peter Obi, it's quite all right. The obedience are his strength, right? But you can also derive some weaknesses from the obedience itself to start.
Tell us.
Yes, because Muslim mentioned something about what some of them do on the social media, which is very good because they are driving it without being pushed, all right? But sometimes there's a tendency to also go beyond what maybe your principal or the person you are supporting may expect you to do, which if you are not careful, those people who probably would have wanted to be part of that very movement or be part of what the quest, all right, might be shoved off because dialogue is not sometimes being adopted by some people, some of the elements who are working for him. So some of them sometimes maybe try to engage peacefully. It is either you are with us or you are not with us, all right? We've seen all of those kind of things play out. And I think Mr. Peter Obi himself is not comfortable with things like that. He would rather want to rally everybody around himself because politics and election, democracy, is all about numerical strength. At the end of the day, you need everybody, all right, to vote for you on that very day because after all the wave around you, you need this to translate into a vote on that election day. So I think there should be caution in that very area. That's why I said that if it is not properly managed, it could go against him as a kind of a weakness. But again, if you also look at the fact that, which is almost had been said severally, that there is no structure. Of course, the obedience has countered that also, that the people are the structure. All right, that if the people are there for him, definitely they don't need any political structure, as it were. Right, but that again is something that if we really need to look at it critically, is an area that from now till February ending, which is the time for the election, right, they need to keep building that very structure to work for him. But for now, I think he's flying high, he's flying very well. Right. And, if he continues in this very life, he might just put some shocker.
Oh, really? I'm going to be coming back to you about that. Hussein, tell me, is there a question you're looking for him to answer?
Yeah.
Or has he addressed all your issues?
Okay. Today, as Peter Obi sits down with Kadaria, I want to hear specifics, really, because he's talked about rebuilding the economy, how he's going to help rebuild the economy, talked about corruption, he's talked about health. But really, when I watch all the interviews that he does, he's asked, we're all journalists here, so to me, he's answered all the 5 W's, but he needs to answer the other H, the how. How is he going to do that? Really, we need specifics because, like he said, he's mentioned something about numerical figures. The elections really trickle down to how many numbers you're able to pull on the day of the polls. Really, we have obedience on social media, Twitter, everywhere, clamoring for Peter Obi as president. But how about the people at the grassroots level? Okay, so he needs to do a lot of work there. But he needs to tell us in specific terms, how is he going to achieve all of these things that he said he's going to?
Yeah. Musikilo, it's said that to vote, you only need one issue that's passionate to you. What's that issue that's passionate to you that you expect Peter Obi to answer, and indeed his VP, Datti Baba Ahmed?
I will come to that shortly.
Okay.
But, just like Desmond said,
Mm-hmm.
the major weakness of the Obedient movement is that they've been excessively fanatic about their country.
Can I interrupt you? Could that be because they feel they have to fight? Or you just think they're just fanatics for the sake of it?
Well, maybe because they are really frustrated with the state of things in the country. And they feel that this is the guy who can fix it. But what they do and the way they communicate and the way they attack people obstruct decent conversation about the election and the candidate. So even people who want to put ideas on the table and say, look, Peter Obi, this is what to do, people are reluctant because people don't want to be attacked. A lot of them behave like trolls on social media. You say stuff and then they go after you. Now, it's not possible. We are not in a one-party state. We're a multi-party democracy. So not everyone cannot support Peter Obi. And we must be tolerant.
Yeah.
We just must be tolerant. And that and if it continues that way, the movement may lose more people across the country.
You raise a very good point. So is that something you would like him to address?
Well,
or what's that one issue in the country that's burning?
I just think that it does appear that he is even not in control of some of his support. So maybe there is something the party is doing, the campaign is doing to address that. I don't know. But one thing let me come to your question about what I want him to address. I really want Peter Obi. There has been we've obscured important conversation. I still want Peter Obi to explain to Nigerians why he failed to declare his asset, the asset that he had abroad in tax haven. He hasn't addressed that issue. If he having admitted that he failed because this is a violation of Nigerian law. If you fail to declare your asset as a public office holder and you are charged to the Code of Conduct Tribunal and you are found guilty, you can't be, for 10 years you'll be suspended from holding public office. Peter Obi hasn't told us, why did you have asset that you didn't declare? And that means you didn't pay taxes. That's an important thing for me.
Okay.
Now, what about the issue of conflict of interest, where he invested public funds in a company in which he hasn't? He has to address why is that the case? There is also the pending issue of a 250 million naira fund with one of his convoy.
So these are all the questions you want him to address. These are
things that I want him to address because, of course, if he's able to address this satisfactorily,
thank you,
then maybe one will think that is better than the other.
Thank you. Desmond, you mentioned earlier, you said numerical, right? But when we talk numerical, we also have to talk about the game of money. Do you think they have enough money?
Well, with the way the campaign is going, talking about the movements around Peter Obi, he probably does not need so much money for campaign.
So does that then change things?
Yeah, that is one of the strengths. That is one of the beauty of what is happening around Peter Obi. You probably do not need too much money because you do not need to appease or appeal to anybody or inducing anybody, all right, to support your ambition with money, all right, because his candidacy is being marketed by Nigerians on their own already. So he probably does not need too much money to push further his his aspiration. What he needs, all right, is to keep talking to Nigerians, all right, also call the supporters to order where necessary. We have agreed on that now here, that he probably is not in control of the movement. That is a movement that came up on his own, all right? He's not in control of that movement. And even if he says today that he doesn't want to contest, it will be so difficult for him to say, because the people who are urging him on, all right, believes that he must see this to the end, all right, which is good for democracy, which is good for the kind of the reawakening that we want to see, particularly among the youth, all right? So he probably does not need too much money for this kind of thing. But we know that politics in Nigeria, elections in Nigeria, all right, you still need to spend some money on basic logistics. And I am sure that some of those people supporting him might just be ready to bring the money out for him.
So what's that one burning issue for you, just one, that you want him to address this evening?
Yeah, I think we've also spoken about it, because both Majid and Hussein have already said something about that. From Hussein, I would just
well, for
re-echo
Majid
that.
is the fact that it's all about his assets.
Yeah.
The 250 million, did you say?
Yeah.
And also there was a
I
third
talk
one.
about the Interfat Beverage
Right,
Limited
yes, the
investment.
bridge.
So the how, all right?
Okay, the how,
The
like
how,
you
yes,
say,
which
yeah.
is what is
Okay.
very, very important. We've really never asked those questions before as Nigerians. We hear people come out to tell us that I'm going to do this, I'm going to build bridge from here to KAFTAN, and all of those kind of promises. I'm going to transform Nigeria from a consuming nation to a production nation, which is one of those statements that is really identifiable with Peter Obi currently. It is very good, it's laudable, all right? But how do you intend to do it? All of those have not been put in black and white, all right? Because we need to see them in black and white and start scrutinizing them. If you need to, and if you want to, all right, change this thing, how do you intend to change it? You know, they say talk is cheap, all right? We have made so much promises. If it is promises we are looking for in Nigeria, we have heard over and over. From 1960, we've been hearing promises, all right? Every election cycle, you hear promises. Even the promises that has not been made abroad, we have made them all in Nigeria. But none of them has been fulfilled, all right? How do you intend to translate these promises to reality at the end of the day? Is what Nigerians are interested in.
Thank you.
Yeah, can I add one more?
Oh yes, go ahead.
Just one more.
You may, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, the governor is running on his record as a former governor of
That's
Anambra
right.
State. You know, among his peers, to be honest, he was a lot more decent in the running of his state. He showed a lot of example. But when Soludo spoke a few days ago, he pointed us at the poverty rate of Anambra when Peter Obi took over, poverty rose and only came down after he left office. I really want him to address it. Why was he unable to deal with the issue of poverty in Anambra? Why did he try? And it only came down after he left office. Because he is now saying he's going to eradicate poverty in Nigeria. So why was he then unable to do it for the 8 years?
Statistics now tell us.
So the statistics now tell us that he was unable to do it while in Anambra.
Yeah.
So what is he going to do differently?
Thank you.
Can I add something to
133
that?
million
I was going there.
in poverty. I mean, that's the latest stat we have. But we haven't talked about Datti Baba Ahmed, and we don't have much time. What do you know about him? Do you feel you know enough about him?
Yeah, I know from that he's been an excellent person in the private sector.
Okay.
Yeah, he's an excellent person in the private sector. And then I want to come down to that question that you asked earlier.
Okay.
Yes, I'm going to add more details to what he said about poverty in Anambra rising when he was governor of Anambra State. So now we know, and it's a fact, that 133 million Nigerians are in poverty. And Peter Obi has said time and again that once he becomes president of Nigeria, he's removing fuel subsidy. So, and we all know the attendant effect of removal of fuel subsidy on the average Nigerian. Purchasing power reducing, high cost of living,
Indeed.
so many things. So 133 million Nigerians poor out of a population of 200 million Nigerians. It's going to be hard to build trust, really. And then he talks about pumping money into the private sector. Today, as he sits with Kadaria, I want him to answer the question of how he's going to help the average Nigerian who have businesses in these SMEs. So when you remove fuel subsidy, everything is going to go up. So how are you going to help the average market woman in Nigeria?
Okay.
How is she going
I have
to
to
live?
wrap you up very quickly in the interest of time because we've got like 2 more questions that I want us to cover.
Okay.
Desmond, tell me, do you feel you know enough about Datti Baba Ahmed?
Well, not quite. But a few things I know about him that I also read that he was former lawmaker in Assembly. He was a member of House of Reps. From there, he moved to become a senator.
But are you confident that you know enough about it? That's my question.
But
not what do you know, but really, how do you feel? I'm just asking.
I think what he carries as a person is not bad for who wants to be the vice president of Nigeria.
Okay.
I think it's not bad.
Okay.
Because for somebody who is leading a university like he is currently leading,
okay.
before he joined this a presidential race,
okay.
I'm not sure it is bad for him.
All right.
But again, it all depends on how all of this play out.
Okay, we're about to wrap up. So 10 seconds. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best. What do you expect their performance to be?
Well, for me, even
1 to 10.
24 hours is too long a time in politics. So,
1 to 10,
no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I can't say politics.
What do you expect their chances to be tonight?
Tonight, well,
their performance.
I would say that I will give them a 4.
Excellent. Okay. Saying that very quickly.
I'll give them a 5.
A 5?
Yeah.
Desmond?
Well, I know Peter Obi is a good talker.
Yeah.
Definitely is going to be able to carry most people along when he's talking
quickly.
Today. And there are so many firsts he has done, really.
Yes. Give me a number.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you about 7 over 10.
7. Okay. Desmond is the most generous. That's all we have time for on this edition of the Pundit Show. A big thank you to my panelists, Husseina, Desmond, and Musikilu. Don't go away. The Town Hall continues immediately after the break with Peter Obi and Senator Yusuf Datti Baba Ahmed, hosted by Kadaria Ahmed. Take care and be well. Bye-bye.
University of Ibadan, alma mater to great thespians, novelists, and politicians of the great nation of Nigeria. The University of Ibadan is located in Oyo State, southwest Nigeria. It was very important program will be streamed on FRCN, Radio Now, DSTV, NTA, Facebook, YouTube, and more. This is a town hall meeting you shouldn't miss. Tune in. Let's hear from the candidates.
town halls that bring the major contenders for Nigeria's presidency face to face with the electorate that will decide who gets the top job. Again, I am Kadaria Ahmed, your anchor this evening, and today we're in conversation with the candidate of the Labour Party.
Mr. Peter Gregory Obi is a businessman and also a two-time governor of Anambra State. Born 61 years ago in Onitsha, the state capital, his professional career saw him venture into the world of corporate finance, where he held a number of executive positions. In 2003, Mr. Obi went to court where he challenged the outcome of the governorship elections he contested under the umbrella of the All Progressives Grand Alliance Party, ABGA. It took 3 years in court, but he was announced winner of the polls. 7 months after he was sworn in, he was impeached by the state's legislators. He challenged his impeachment in court and was reinstated. In 2019, Mr. Obi lost at the polls as the vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. Today, he offers himself for election as Nigeria's next president on the platform of the Labour Party. His running mate is Dr. Datti Baba Ahmed, a Nigerian economist and politician who served as senator for Kaduna North from 2011 to 2012 and as a member of the House of Representatives from 2003 to 2007. Born 53 years ago in Daria, Kaduna State, he spent some time in banking and finance before venturing into politics. In 2018, he contested and lost the presidential primaries of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. In July this year, he was named as running mate to Labour Party's presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Obi and Dr. Datti Ahmed, for saying yes to the invitation to attend this town hall. We don't take your presence here for granted, and I'm sure our viewers are very pleased that you said yes. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you. Just a few things to note as we begin this conversation. In addition to people in the room who will be asking questions of the candidates, we have 6 remote locations across 6 geopolitical zones. And over the course of the next 2 hours, we will hear from all of them. We have also collated questions sent to us via email and our social media platforms, and we'll try and get answers to as many of them as possible from our candidates. It is important that everyone who is asking a question state their name clearly and always be on point, as we must be mindful of time to ensure we get as many people to participate as possible. Okay, so 2 hours, a lot to get through. So just to dive straight into it, there are 18 people who are presenting themselves to Nigerians, saying we are going to be the best president and vice president. Why should Nigerians elect you, the duo, the two of you?
Well, it's for Nigerians to first try to scrutinize and look at our past, who we are, where we're coming from, look at what we're promising, and be able to verify whether those things we're saying we're going to do based on the past, can we deliver them?
I mean, that's sort of like a very generic statement, but you are convinced you're the right people. And so I'm saying, what are the things that make you stand out from the other 18 people that are contesting? But maybe even from the front runners, the sort of 6 people that we are talking to in this town hall?
Well, like I said before, it is a question of trust. If you say you're going to do, for example, if somebody said, I'm going to fight corruption, it is important to scrutinize. We know the parameter of measuring corruption perception index, for example, in terms of nepotism, in terms of managing public assets and using them for the benefit of the people. Can we check where the person is coming from? And if somebody says, I'm doing this, check the past. Datti Baba Ahmed, like you mentioned in introduction, is an economist, have this past, built a business, is running a university and everything. So if he says, I'm going to do something on education, you say, well, listen, you're already doing this. If I say I'm going to do this, What are these people doing? They've created wealth, they've managed resources. There's so many things you need to verify and say, well, based on this, maybe they will be able to.
Okay. So maybe what we should do to make it easier for Nigerians is take some of the biggest issues facing the country and see if we can dive into them and what your ideas are regarding how to solve those problems. Starting perhaps with the biggest in the eyes of many people, and which is supposed to be the speciality of the two of you, which is the economy. We have big deficits in our budgets, for example. We are consuming things that are imported. We're not, a very productive country as things stand. The currency is in free fall. A whole lot of things happening with the economy. So from day one, what are the sort of things that you'll be looking at to rescue the Nigerian economy?
If you look at all the pack, all of us, we're the only people who emphasize that we're going to move the country from consumption to production, because Nigeria is not a productive country. And the economy is at the base of all our problems. Yes, we have a security problem, but you can link it directly to the economy. Because when you have over 100, like they've just come out with the NBA, when you have over 130 million people living in poverty, you're about to have crisis. Because when people don't know where the next meal will come from, it becomes a security risk. So you're going to have crisis. So dealing with that, like you said, first is to look at where is the country in terms of economy. You need to deal with the issue of food production. You need to look at how do you feed the country. That is a given. Considering that today, as we say, he said everywhere, the greatest assets, physical assets of this country, is the all-cultivated land in the north.
But it still doesn't answer the question of the how.
I'm going to give you the how.
Okay.
So what it is that for us, it started with the issue of Kuja deficit. Thank you. If you look, let me take 2021 budget. In 2021 budget is about 21 trillion, with a deficit of about 11 trillion. In that component of 11 trillion, you have about approximately 6 trillion for subsidy. All these are approximate. By the time you remove subsidy, you've halved that. Because I believe that subsidy must go.
Okay, and we have to, I've been told I have to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about whether the removal of subsidy is in line with the ethos of your party and the principle because we've seen them say that subsidy will go, but there are conditions. So we'll dive into that conversation shortly after this break. Don't go away.
Daria Media, in association with Cabal Entertainment, presents The Candidates, a presidential town hall meeting series where the presidential candidates of the 6 leading political parties tell us about their plans for the country. Join Kadaria Ahmed as she leads us into the world of these candidates from the 17th to the 23rd of November 2022. This very important program will be streamed on FRCN, Radio Now, DSTV, NTA, Facebook, YouTube, and more. This is a town hall meeting you shouldn't miss. Tune in. Let's hear from the candidates.
Welcome back. You are watching The Candidates, and we are in conversation with the candidates of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi and Dr. Datti Ahmed. Welcome back. Sorry? Baba Ahmed. You want me to say the full thing? Apologies. So you were explaining where you thought you could start to get saving as president, and you were talking about subsidy removal. If you can sort of explain a little bit more.
Not savings, but how to reduce deficit.
Deficit, yes.
Which was your question.
Okay.
If you remove that, you have your deficit. And the question is, it is not in line with Labour position.
Right. So what we have heard from Labour, shortly after you made the initial statement about the removal of subsidy, is that they think in terms of it has to have, refineries have to be working, there has to be certain conditions.
Labour's position is that the removal, you have to explain the alternative.
Right.
Or how you're going to do to be able to ameliorate the increase in price. And that is in place. What time today we have the Dangote refinery almost 90% completed.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some other modular refineries that are coming and everything, which you can, as quickly as possible, support for their completion and support other new ones that are coming up. So that removal alone will not, it will be like something that you can do as quickly as possible and be able to still have the same product competitively priced that we are accepted, and then use the resources. Because I can't always say what you have today as subsidy, for me, is organized crime. And you can't continue that.
Yes, I think many Nigerians would agree with that.
You can't continue with that. So you can deal with it. Labour is not against subsidy removal. They are against, if you're going to remove it, there must be something you're putting in place in order to be able to manage what is going to follow. And that we're going to do aggressively. And that, if by the time you remove it, deal with the other components of fiscal rascality, like be able to bring the rule of law and manage corruption and everything, you'll be able to bring the deficit down.
Okay. I will come back to that. I want to bring Dr. Baba Ahmed in here because he's also an economist. When we look at some of the utterances that you and Mr. Obi have made around the way you're going to turn this country around, it seems to be market-driven, capitalistic. And the Labour Party calls itself a socialist party. So there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect between your ideology and that of the party you're representing at the polls. Are we misunderstanding this? Is your ideology very close to the Labour ideology, which tends to be socialist by their own saying, based on the what they say about themselves in the documents we've read?
The ideologies have been completely misunderstood. I beg to say, Labour has never been a socialist inclination.
I can quote them, and the document I have.
No.
The way they describe themselves.
When you speak about the founding principles of communism and socialism, what we have as Labour is not resting on those principles.
Right.
The Labour, as we have it in the context of parties, are those from the welfarist state. Now, welfarist began with an economist called, forgive me, I can't remember the name right now, in the 50s. Margaret Thatcher, for example, made a huge success out of welfarism and Labour politics in the UK.
She was a conservative.
She was a conservative, but the Labour unions grew powerful and made a success of their drive during her era.
Right.
Please, market-driven strategies of any government, including China and Russia, are never at loggerheads or against the principles of what we call Labour.
Right.
Labor
so you don't see a contradiction?
No, there is no contradiction.
Okay.
Anything. There is difference from welfarist doctrines and then the principles of communism and socialism that have proven incapable of standing the test of time.
So let's go back to details of the how. So you've talked about removing subsidy, using modular refineries.
Just for deficit.
Yes, for
deficit.
Yes.
And where you can call the deficit, because it says huge deficit.
Yes.
And I'm telling you how to call it.
Yes.
So,
okay, so what is the position of your party when it comes to the other parts of like...
Chamberlain. I remember the name now.
Chamberlain, right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So we've seen, for example, the issue of multiple exchange rates and the impact that has had on the economy, the lack of confidence, the going up, the going down. What would be your position? Are you going to go for a unified foreign exchange regime? Will it be a staggered thing that you are going to do? How are you going to deal with this disparity when it comes to Naira and the value of the Naira, and how to sort of give it a little bit more oomph, if you like?
well, what you need to do is to look at the issue of why is Naira weak? That's where you start.
Mm-hmm.
The Naira is weak because of the weakness or strongness of your currencies, that means by your reserve. Because you have low reserve, the Naira is weak. And low reserve is driven by low export. You don't have enough export that is bringing in foreign revenue. And that's where you have to look at it. All these exchange models and everything, if you have the right export component and everything, which is why I said the country is not productive. If the country is productive and doing what they're supposed to do, you won't even have an issue of this type, because your currency will be strong. What is 18.9 trillion naira, which at the official rate is about $47 billion. At the rates anybody can get, about 650, is about under 30 billion. There's no way a country of this size can have that with the level, and I want you to allow me to give you an example of where.
Please.
So there's no way you can have that. We are 210 million people living on 923,000 square kilometers of land. Israel is 22,000 square kilometers. So if you minus them from us, we have 900,000 left.
Yeah.
There are about 8.9 million people. So call it 9 million. So when you give them 10 million people, we have 210 million people left. The export last year is $59.8 billion. So they need to wise what we did for that number. Countries of our
The
size.
how is where we...
I'm going to tell you how now. I'm going to tell you how. Countries of our size. Let's put a country like Vietnam. Vietnam export last year is over 350 billion. 100 million people, which is half of our population, living on 331,000 square kilometers, which is the third of our land. What did they do? Vietnam total export, 90% is manufactured goods, which includes electronics, taste, and everything. How? You have to go back. First thing I said, you have to deal with the issue of feeding yourself.
Right.
If today you secure Nigeria, put serious effort to secure Nigeria, and your farmers go back, resuscitate your Bank of Agriculture, fund and support agriculture meaningfully, the way it should be, where those vast empty land in the north will become productive.
Okay. And I want to, we will come back again to the how, because I have questions around, you raised issues around power, but the audience, you know, this is a town hall, it's not a Q&A.
Yes.
I want to try and bring in questions from people in the audience and also people watching from the house. So we are taking audience questions. There's a gentleman in green, one in white, and another one in green over there. We'll take about 4 and then come back. I think they've given you something to write.
Problem.
Yes, and everything. So let's start with the gentleman in green. Yes, by the right-hand side here. No, there's a gentleman here, yes. We start here. We will get to all of you, I promise. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mr. Peter Obi and Dr. Datti Baba Ahmed. My name is Dr. Nyekachi Unubogu. I'm a marketing professional, been around Nigeria a lot. And the questions I'm going to ask you are not around the economy. The question I'm going to ask you is around Nigeria. The biggest challenge we have today, apart from economy, is building a united, indivisible nation, one that we'll all be proud of. And when we see what's happening in the elections today, there's a lot of mistrust, there's a lot of backbiting, bickering, and it just seems that the electionary season is making it worse for us. I'm going to ask you a very controversial but direct question. Would Peter Obi and Dr. Datti Baba Ahmed be willing, in the interest of Nigeria, to work with any of the other two candidates to ensure that we build, call it a government of national unity, a government that eliminates the bickering and the fights we have today in this political space? Will you be able to? Because at the end of the day, that is what we want as a nation. A strong, free, indivisible, united Nigeria.
Thank you very much. The next question, please. Yes, there's a mic on that side. So if we go that row, because there are like 2-3 people there. Yes, sir. Please don't forget to tell us who you are.
Yeah, I must say day 4 and Kadaria is still looking glittering. I greet His Excellency, Mr. Peter Obi, the rock, the man generating the much buzz right now. I can almost say that what I heard in the news today, when I seem to be speculating that there could be a runoff, I can almost trace it to the fact that you are in the race. Almost say that. And that's for that. I've dropped on you a lot, sir. I've heard many things you've said, and generated like no doubt. But then, I ask, have you embraced climate change, global warming, greenhouse effect? And why have I asked? I read recently how that the president of Uganda, Museveni, decried the reprehensible double standard of the West when it comes to climate change. Germany is about closing down some windmills just to open some coal mines. On the one hand, they tell you that climate change is real, that we should reduce carbon effect and what have you. So I'm asking His Excellency, how is he going to tackle that if he believes in that? And I'm just thinking aloud, with respect to the Vice President, you run a private university. Won't there be a clash of interest with ASU? Your university must thrive, your personal university must thrive, but then ASU too must be solved. So how do you go about this?
Thank you. The person next to him, please.
Good evening. My name is Abubakar Sadiq. My question is very direct, and I would like Mr. Peter Obi to answer it directly as I want to ask. A day after Anambra State Governor Charles Soludo critiqued your mood and style of campaign, his hometown was attacked by ECN. How does this portray your claim to ensure freedom of expression without fear of being maimed or killed? But eventually, if you emerge as the president,
please,
if we criticize you, are we going to be saved? Like, are we going to be saved? That's the question.
Thank you. One last question and we'll come back to... Okay, I think we're done for now. Okay, so questions to both you and Dr. Baba Ahmed as well. Maybe we could start with the one of how you... the mistrust. And perhaps maybe what we should ask is, how will you unify Nigeria? And would you be willing to go into a government of national unity? That was the first question.
If you have you followed our 7-point agenda? The first one is to secure and unite Nigeria. It is our commitment to ensure that to ensure the security of life and property of Nigerians, and to show a united and one Nigeria.
How?
Very easy. By ensuring that there is equity, justice, and doing things following the rule of law. If you check on my transits and everywhere, or Datti Baba Ahmed's own, you will not see where we've made statements like, don't vote for these people because they're from here, or statement like somebody said, I'll send Peter back to where he's coming from. We are people who have all over the place. I come from the southeast. I live in Lagos, live in the southeast, live in Abuja. I've traveled everywhere, and I've maintained that nobody should vote for me because I'm from the southeast, or vote for me because it's my turn. And the southeast is clamoring for it. But check our record. And we maintain so. And our backgrounds speak so. And I believe, and I've lived it. I said it today, most people as governor, the closest person to me is my ADC. My ADC is from Kano. I always say, it is the best policeman I've ever met. We remain close to today. The investment and dealing with other countries. And so is he.
So, all of us, I think, tend to generally understand that the background to peace in most societies is respect for the rule of law.
Yes.
Right? And Nigeria suffers direly from the fact that actually the rule of law doesn't seem to apply evenly or equally. And, there's impunity all over the place. So the question again is how? How are you going to move a country that is used to doing things a certain way, both in terms of the institutions that are charged with enforcing rule of law, but also the culture of a people who are used to breaking laws willy-nilly? I'm not clear about the how. Like your judiciary.
Once you do things based on, remember what? Equity and justice. It's even enshrined in our constitution, for example, where we talk about national character, everything. Once you do things based on that, you will see unity. Once you show, of course, we're going to serve where we're going to. For example, I've always emphasized my target is the vast land in the north. I want to start pulling people out of poverty in the north. And I do it so aggressively. I've always said we're going to make sure we recapitalize and deal with the Bank of Agriculture, which is based in Kaduna. There's quite a number of things you start doing, and you see there's no other way to do it than equity, justice in all your dealings.
So the second part of that question was whether you would be willing to do...
We maintain that we're going to form government of national unity.
Okay. So, but if you don't win and somebody else wins and they invite you, would you join a government of national unity?
Why not? It's not inviting me that is the problem. I've always said it. You work with other, show that you're working with everybody. For example, somebody asked me that earlier today, and I said, at my stage in life, there's little or nothing I'm looking for, in the sense of we're not looking for a job. But of course, why wouldn't I? It's my country. Even now that I'm not in office, I still at all times defending various issues with regards to Nigeria. So we will, if we win, our government will be government of national unity, but it must be focused on youth and women.
Okay.
Women and youth.
And we have specific questions about that, which I'll come to in a minute, sent to us by women group, actually,
Thank you.
Some of them. But before I leave you and go back to Dr. Baba Ahmed, there is a sort of a slightly related question. Somebody in the audience talked about the attack on Governor Soludo's home state and asked you your position around ESN.
Well, people...
And I want to piggyback off that and ask you specifically what you make of the agitation in the East, specifically your position on IPOB and ESN.
Everybody knows my position on agitation. I've said I'll dialogue and discuss with all agitators. Everybody, everywhere in the country is full of agitation. This is a cumulative effect of leadership failure over the years. There's nothing wrong in agitation. We dialogue and discuss with everybody.
But what about the attacks and the killings?
That's what I'm saying. That what is said have no toleration. Soludo, I've taken a position of Soludo and said, he's my governor, he's my senior brother, and we're very close. What he said is his opinion. You cannot attack people for expressing their opinion. Otherwise, We'll be attacking everybody on the road every day. You know how many people that tell me every day, you don't know what you're doing. If I would have attacked you, sir.
Yeah.
If I'm doing that. Everybody's telling me they don't have.
So
I have never knowingly, Peter, knowingly, said use a bad language.
So would you
on
condemn
anybody.
ESN now for all the attacks we've
No,
seen?
I cannot
the
condemn because I'm not
and the
sure
deaths?
who is doing what. You can't just come and be condemning people until somebody says, hey, wait a minute, how can I go? Every day, let me tell you, people say all sorts of things. You can only condemn people when there's a process which have said, oh, this person has done this.
So you don't believe Nigerian security services when INEC offices are attacked, when people are being killed? The late Dora Akunyeli lost her husband, and they say it is ESN. You don't believe it?
Let me tell you, I personally, single-handedly, left Lagos without any single security, took first flight to Owerri, drove to Ogidi police station to retrieve the body of Chika Akunyele. Nobody did. I single-handedly, when I heard it, and everybody knows, I was the last person to visit Dora Akunyele, a hospital in India, before she died. I'm very close to Dora and the family. Everybody knows. So I can tell you what happened to Dr. Chika Akunyele. Nobody can say, is this person or that person? Chika Akunyele was just trying to drive back to Enugu, ran into people who were robbing and doing all sorts of things. A lot of things which nobody can explain. Even where he was trying to say, no, stop this, no, stop that, of course he was shocked. But you see, whenever things like that happen, people speculate all sorts of things and everything. Nigeria is where people just
So because there is a research that has shown a direct correlation between the announcement of the formation.
There's no research.
There is research.
There is
research that has shown a correlation between the announcement of the formation of ESN, some of the utterances of Nnamdi Kalu about take their guns, shoot their guns, and the spike in violence. People are saying if a witch is crying at night and you wake up in the morning, a baby has died.
There is no.
Okay, so
I have about 10 messages here.
Yes.
Saying I should not come to your program.
I know.
That you're totally against me.
I know.
And I'm here. I told them, I said, I like meeting people who are against me.
I know.
And I'm here.
What they don't.
So if I take all those witches,
no, I'm sorry.
I want to see the witch before I call it witch.
Those people. Beautiful people. No, what it is that if people tell you not to come and answer questions that have been asked freely, then they are not ready for you to become.
That's what I tell them. Everybody will like you.
Because you see, it's not just Kadaria saying these things. Every candidate who comes here, I put to them the things that are being discussed on social media and in the public space. And it is in their interest to answer Nigerians. So that's why you said yes.
You know what I tell
And
them?
I'm happy you said yes.
I said it's my sister. Go there.
Thank you.
You know, and I believe you're my
grateful.
sister.
Let me move to the questions for Dr. Baba Ahmed. You were asked about your position on education, given the fact that you own a private university, and whether, as vice president, your government will have some sort of clash when it comes to dealing with ASU, who represent teachers in public universities that are government-owned, versus sort of you, who sort of make money from educating people.
I don't make money from educating people. I make a career out of educating people.
Right. Please explain. Your school is not free, is it?
Then existing data, which is verifiable, my friend is welcome to see. There is no correlation with the length of time and the number of students in federal universities and state universities out of the classrooms and our enrollment. We happen to be completely in different market segments. So there is absolutely no clash of interest
Okay.
between my humble self acting in the capacity of a vice president and how private and public universities are run.
How would you bring
In
your
fact,
knowledge of
where
education?
contradiction
Uh,
will be
yes.
is while somebody like me will be vice president and ASU would ever go on strike.
Okay, so
first
so
thing
here is the question.
I
then.
would like to do,
Yes.
with the kind permission of Mr. President, is the way he says he wants to sit down and dialogue with agitation groups. While he's doing that, I would like another group to quickly sit with ASU and extract a commitment that in that 4-year period, they will not go on strike.
Okay. So
Please, there is actually no link between the interest of well-run private university and how
universities.
ASU goes on strike. In fact, I was most pained all the time for those 8 months. I just cannot believe that the trillions of naira in the Nigerian university system were allowed to waste.
Okay, let's dig deeper a little bit into something you inferred in answering that question, which is that your knowledge of the way education works will come to bear in the way you solve the issues of tertiary education. Talk to us a little bit about what your plan would be for higher education in Nigeria. And then if we have time, you go into foundational education as well. How are you going to improve education given where it is at the moment?
There is something generic. Permit me to use this analogy of the DNA that composes the cell, that composes the organ, that composes the system of an organism. Healthcare, and where you're not efficient in doing that, all hell will let loose. So there is a generic answer to the specific question you are giving me, and which is bringing us to the systems level I always speak about. If I speak about procurement, it touches education, it touches security, and everything else. So every naira spent in the education sector, and for that matter, any other government function, we are trying to run a government that will extract the fullest value for all amounts spent. That is what we're about. This is the first way to deliver good governance. We will not spend money carelessly in such a way that 90% goes to personal, political, and group interest.
What I'm interested in trying to find out from you and Dr. Baba
Allow me to
Ahmed
finish answering your question.
Okay, but there are people waiting.
The moment money spent on education goes 100% in providing the infrastructure, the equipment, the welfare of personnel and the students, you are retaining 100% of your resources.
Okay.
This is what we stand for. Over and above that, you come to systems, procedures, and practices. And these are places where you have a little tweaking to do. The curricula will go into international best practices, like the best courses that will bring us out of consumption to production.
Right.
Recently, I was pained to hear that a very noble profession was being rubbished by someone who's aspiring to high office. You see, the production of water is life. Water saves life.
Mm. And maybe we can relate that to the question on climate change.
Let me finish. And you see, we are looking at areas where you would introduce new courses, clean energy, waste management.
And I really want to dive into them, right? But look at our time. It
Then
doesn't seem like it.
When you're asking big questions, you're asking important questions.
I am.
And you're asking questions that mean a lot to us.
Yes, I understand.
So I can take the whole of my energy, the whole of tonight, speaking to you about education.
We don't have tonight. Sadly, we have only... you know that song, Give Me Tonight? We don't have tonight. We only have a few minutes. The reason I want is that there's another question somebody asked on climate change.
Yeah.
And since you're talking about water and water being life, I thought Mr. Obi could use that as his launching pad to talk about your position on climate change, on the environment, on what we're seeing happening. And then we will go to our remote locations and come back and talk about energy and energy transition. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, he's raising his finger. Okay.
Okay, well, for climate change, first that we will do everything possible to follow the protocol.
Right.
Because there's already an agreement which Nigeria is signatory. So what you do is to, within that agreement you've accepted, you do everything possible to follow the protocol. Where it is impossible, we will be able to navigate and communicate effectively. But if you look at some of the things, let me just use the issue of like this flooding issue, the one we're facing today.
Yes.
It's over the years, it's something that is doing. Over the years, there have been contracts and everything that now awarded to dredge and desilt the Niger and River Benue. If you have been doing that, one, you have a means of water transportation which is greatly missing today for a lot of your cargoes and allowing trucks on your road and damaging your roads and all that. If you've been doing that, you have enough to take in the flooding that would be, or even channeling the water, building dams. When we talk about agriculture and eradication that is happening in the north, you have water to channel there. And dredging that should not be difficult to do. Today, everybody knows that in Egypt they say, no Nile, no Egypt. Egypt have maintained the Nile in terms of hedging, tilting, making it become a huge means of transportation and everything. And if Egypt can do it, Nigeria can do it. Nile, everybody knows, is over 1,000 longer, 1,000 kilometers longer than River Niger and River Benue put together. Nile is 6,650 kilometers long, while Niger is 4,184.
Right. I don't know these numbers.
So all those things put together, if they can do it, we can do it.
Okay. Are you committing to dredging the Benue and the Niger if you become president?
Of course, the contracts have already been going. It's just that people have been collecting the money and going away.
Right.
Nobody will collect contract and go away under our government.
Okay. Let's see if we can. We have young audiences across 6 Nigerian universities, 6 locations, and I want to see if they are ready with their questions, starting with Bayero University, Kano. Hello, Bayero. Can you hear us?
Hello, and welcome to Kano State. We are in Bayero University, Kano. My name is Stephen Enoch, and students have been paying close attention. They want to ask so many questions, but we have only 2 people who can ask their questions. We have Esther Michael and Rahman Adiza. Let's start with Esther Michael.
Hello, good evening. My name is Esther Michael, Good evening. My name is Esther Michael, a level 300 student of mass communication, Bayero University, Kano. Well, my question goes thus. The Nigerian power sector has been privatized, and yet the Nigerian government keeps spending billions of naira to private enterprise in form of support. Now, it is apparent that the power sector is not working as we keep having system collapse every now and then. Now, I would like you to tell us, what would you do differently to make the Nigerian power sector work again? Thank you very much.
Yes, and we have
Rahman Adeza, who has a question to ask Mr. Obi.
Good evening, Mr. Obi. I am Rahman Adeza from Mass Communication Level 4 student. Sir, do you believe in Biafran self-determination agitation? In a simple answer, yes or no. Also, what is your idea of federalism and restructuring? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much and have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much, Kano. Do we have another university ready, or do we deal with these questions first? Oh, we'll go with the questions first, starting first with power sector, privatization, etc.
I don't want to go into whether the privatization was
dodgy,
done well, or there's issue with it.
Right.
I don't have an eye in the past, and I've maintained that we're going to look forward. I'm not going to waste everybody's time going to yesterday. Yesterday is gone. I'm going to go tomorrow. First is that you can deal with the power issue as decisively as possible. One, today we have installed capacity of about 12,500. But because of not having the transmission infrastructure to deliver that, and we have a distribution infrastructure to distribute that. First is to ensure as quickly as possible that you have the transmission infrastructure and distribution infrastructure to be able to transmit and distribute the installed capacity of about 12,500. And then
centralized transmission still like we have
no,
now?
I said I'll decentralize it.
We decentralize,
Remember,
right?
I said I'll decentralize it.
Okay.
That's why I said have the infrastructure to deal with that as quickly as possible.
Okay.
In doing
have
that,
you done the numbers?
Numbers of
the cost?
You've forgotten. I've been all over the place, traveling to Egypt and everywhere.
Okay, because on average, 1 kilometer of a transmission line costs about 1 million USD.
Let me tell you, the amount of money we're wasting can deliver all those things. I've done all the numbers. Okay. You know, Kadaria, this country has borrowed, in the past 8 years, we've borrowed nearly $100 billion. 10% of that would have put us out of delivered power. So, I've done the numbers very well. The only thing I can do is numbers. So I've done it very well.
Okay.
The rest assured. What I'm saying is that you deal with that. As you're dealing with that, and supporting those who are in generation today, providing a regulated environment that will support their business, giving them access to finance to support their business, because their business is troubled. All of
but
them.
you know they've had access to finance before in form of loans, in form of grants from CBN.
Let me tell you. I said, give them access to finance. Believe me, we did see all these things that...
One of the things they say they want is increase in tariff. Will you allow it?
Of course, there's increase in tariff. Everywhere you go in the world, there's different tariffs for different areas. You can't charge people in Ikoyi the same as people in Ajegunle. I will charge those who have to pay it, who have the resources to pay it. They'll pay it. And then I'll reduce the price for those who don't have. So those who are low income, you can subsidize. Those who have high income, they will pay the appropriate thing. And they are the ones consuming more. If you go to the average house in Ikoyi, they have all sorts of things, different fridge in their bedroom and everything. In Ajegun, they have only one fridge in one. So I've subsidized their own, charge the people in Ikoyi appropriately. It's simple, because they can afford to pay it. Is that what we are talking about, fuel subsidy? Everybody is paying subsidy. When there's people who have 12 cars here, and the people in my village who don't have any car, they're paying for subsidy. So we want to charge people appropriately based on their where we can make money from it. But that is delivering power, we will deal decisively with it. South Africa declared emergency in power when they are generating 50,000. and we are generating 5,000, we declare war.
You declare war on power?
War on power.
What does war look like on power in practical terms? Is that more money? Okay.
We are going to allow people, we are going to say anybody can generate up to 100 megawatts without license. Anybody who can generate power, if you can do 1 megawatt in your generator, anything you can do to have power, we will support you. We will give you all the support you need.
No caveat, or there will be caveats and regulation and...
Or there will be regulation, but the regulation will not be where it's impeded by all sorts of restrictions, tax, supervision. There will be proper supervision, there will be proper details, but we're not going to waste your time by various taxes, blockages, and everything. If you want to start today, we'll make sure that by tomorrow you're on and going, and we will support you.
And
for example, I give you, if you go to Aba, we had a facility that has been up and running there for almost 15 years. I will put everything possible, including ensuring that all taxes, levies, everything is removed immediately. I want to see power.
Okay. Let me turn to, thank you.
And then, okay.
Yes, there's a second question that was asked, and I actually think maybe you are the one that should try and answer it. What is your position regarding the agitation for the state of Biafra and people's right to self-determination?
Can you allow Mr. President to answer?
Yes.
If you choose.
No, I will, let me tell you.
His answering will make more sense than me.
I've said it. He said it, my young, because at this stage, I haven't have 2 graduates. I'll call the person who asked the question a son.
Yes.
Because I have 2 graduates at home. Let me tell you, when it comes to the issue of agitation, it's not yes or no. People agitate everywhere, even in my house. You know? So when the first thing you do with the agitator is to sit down and listen to the person who is agitating. Unless you sit down, you cannot say yes or no. I'm a Nigerian. I'm contesting election as a Nigerian. I'm not contesting as from any other place. I'm a Nigerian. I believe in Nigeria. I believe in unity of Nigeria. And I believe that I'm going to bring all agitators back to Nigeria and make it work for them. Because the reason why they're agitating is injustice. When you provide justice, equity, and create a level playing field where people start whatever, there will be agitation. So there was agitation. There was agitation. There was agitation for, don't forget, there was agitation yesterday in America.
Yes.
Before. Don't think America is like this. There was agitation before. There was agitation before in Brazil. I can show you countries where there's so much agitation. But when level playing field were created, where people had work, talent, much of the opportunity, all these things will go.
Okay. So
just wait.
He wants to ask something.
I allowed my principal to answer this question because we have nothing to hide. When I joined his ticket, and just before I joined it, I faced a great deal of resistance and afterwards a great deal of difficulty, all centered around this. He is the best person to answer, and he has told you clearly, I allowed him because there is absolutely nothing to hide about agitation or about his candidacy, about where he comes from.
Let's go a little bit into devolution, restructuring, which is another debate, and things that are sort of in the public domain. We have conversations. So do you believe in restructuring? And if you do, what does it mean to you? Because it means different things to different people.
And when you talk about restructuring, talking about issue of constitutionality, dealing with the constitution, restructuring the country is a constitutional matter which has to be dealt with every day. Our government will be by consent. People need to sit down and decide this is the way we should go. It is not just for
so
me
national
to say,
conference again? Or?
No, it's not. There's enough documents. already. There's enough conversation already. Now we can bring up and look at it and say all this. Do you know why people are talking about?
So the consensus through National Assembly? I'm trying to understand the mechanism.
Of course, for you to restructure Nigeria today, you must do so through National Assembly.
Right.
And in doing that, you need to come out with a convincing argument, which I can tell you about. If you take issue of security, there's no reason why we should not have local government,
state police,
and national police.
Okay.
It is a part of restructuring. We're talking about, do you know at times why people are talking about issue of restructuring and it looks as if it's something difficult? It's because we're a consuming state which exists in this sharing formula, which we've already said we'll remove and put production formula.
Production formula. We'll talk about production formula after we've spoken to the University of Ibadan.
Thank you.
Nirong, I hear you're on standby.
Yes, we are on standby here at the University of Ibadan, Oyo State. My name is Niro Adesoya. We have two of the students here ready to ask questions. First up, we'll start with Samuel. Samuel, let's have your question.
Good evening, Mr. Obi. I am Samuel Adebola by name, a final year student of the Department of Geography from University of Ibadan. So my question goes first. Nigeria is too over-dependent on oil, yet we have enormous deposit of other natural resources that can pump money into our economy. So in diversifying the economy of Nigeria, do you have any plans on reviving the Ajaokuta Steel Company? If yes, how? This is because the steel industry is the bedrock of any industrialized nation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's coming from Samuel. We have another question coming from Temitope, who is also right here as well. Temitope.
Good evening, Mr. Peter and Dr. Datti. My name is Temitope Shola, a startup founder, also from the University of Ibadan. Budding entrepreneurs in the country. Thank you very much.
Okay, those are the two questions from the University of Ibadan this evening. I want to say thank you very much for giving us the opportunity as well.
Thank you very much. Over to you.
Well, the first question is about the dependent on oil and diversifying the economy.
Nigeria, and the Ajaokuta Steel.
Yes, and the Ajaokuta Steel. Let me correct one thing people make a mistake about. Nigerian economy is well diversified, except that it's not productive.
Please explain.
Because the oil people are talking about, today, go and check our GDP. Oil contributes less than 10% of our GDP. However, oil is
50% of government income.
No, I'm coming. It's 50% of government revenue and about 80% of our foreign exchange revenue, because we have not made the other area productive. For example, oil, agriculture contributes about 21% of the GDP when oil is doing less than 10%. But we allow that oil because we are not a productive economy. In doing that, and it talks about other natural resources. That is also going back. Yes, we have natural resources, but it's then going back to the same, going back to the same extractive industry, which to me is a diminishing asset.
Mm-hmm.
We want to go to intellectual production, fourth industrial revolution, which is now brain. That is what we need to invest. And in doing that, so when I told you about Vietnam export,
yes,
I said it's less than 10% natural resources.
Yeah.
Electronics is something percent. They are doing 60 billion.
Mm.
If they're doing clothing, 32 billion. Footwear, they are doing more in footwear almost than we're doing about what we're doing in oil.
Mm.
So agriculture, let me give you an example of what I use every day. Netherlands, our total export, I told you, is under 30 billion. Netherlands is 33,000 square kilometers. The agricultural export last year is 103 billion euros, $120 billion. When Niger State where we have 7 local governments occupied by bandits, is 76.3 thousand square, 2.5 times the land. So we move this country from consumption to production by investing first in agriculture so we can feed ourselves and export.
Okay, so this sounds all really amazing and fantastic, but I have a question about the immediacy and the urgency of some of the issues that are facing us. I can see how over a year or 2 years you can begin to do some of these things. If I think in terms of setting up, agricultural places, getting people educated to produce shoes, all of that, these things take time. In the sense of the immediate issues facing us, as we speak today, people are getting kidnapped. As we speak today, farmers are paying ransom in order to go and farm, and some are not even farming
I told you that our priority is to secure the country.
Okay, so let's,
that is number one
should
priority.
we talk a little bit about that and the how?
No, I'm not going to tell you how.
Why?
I can't tell you how I'm going to catch them. How can I tell you how? Now, on this stage, if I tell you they won't be there and they'll find another route. So I'm not, all I said is that we are going to be, call me Kadaria. I and Datti Baba Ahmed will be in charge.
Okay.
I'm going to be commander-in-chief. I'm going to be in charge. I will make security a priority, and the security we're going to put in place will be responsive and responsible.
Okay.
So if we're not delivering, whoever is in charge.
2 things that come up when you say that. As far as I know, and I can't say I know everything, it's possible I'm wrong, right? As far as I know, none of you has any experience of dealing with the sort of insecurity that Nigeria is facing now.
Absolutely untrue.
Okay, I said maybe I'm wrong.
He's a military man.
I said maybe I'm wrong. So I said as far as I know. So if I'm wrong, you tell me I'm wrong.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
The moment you have the people in power not stealing your money, you're already getting richer. The moment they announce a government who are not complicit in bringing insecurity to your country, you are already defeating insurgency and banditry and terror.
That is...
The moment they announce a group of people who mean business and who know business,
can you pause a little?
Your economy is already fixing itself.
Dr. Baba Ahmed, just pause for me a little.
All right.
You made a statement that is very heavy. Very serious, because we're having a national conversation watched by millions. You talked about a government that is complicit in bringing insecurity.
Yes.
Implying that you believe
that
there are people in government, or that this particular government
Kadaria, you can never tie me down. You can never put me in trouble.
I'm asking you to clarify. I'm asking you to clarify what you said.
Yes.
You said it. I didn't say it.
And let me repeat. The moment you have a government in place that is not complicit in bringing insecurity to your country, you are already defeating banditry.
And you won't expand on that.
The moment we say it, the goalposts change.
Okay. Because if I talk now,
and again,
if I talk now, they will say it's because I'm anti. Meanwhile, I am a people's. I have to ask the question. That's my job.
Your question is asking that. Okay.
Right?
Nigeria, a lot has happened.
Yes.
To Nigeria. Nigeria is a very, very peaceful country.
Used to be.
No, it still is a very peaceful country, because if despite all the evils that have happened to Nigeria, we are still managing to keep the numbers so low, I think Nigerians by nature are peaceful.
Okay. So you won't tell us how you will solve insecurity because you believe you'll be giving away your secret.
Nigerian forces.
Let me give you one of the examples.
Okay.
Kadaria,
people really like my name, Sha.
If you start pulling people, out of poverty, you start reducing criminality. It is number one thing for Brazil, Mexico. I can call countries, that kind of countries. Whereas Southeast Asia have used to fight insecurity.
Right. So, I mean, the reason why I'm kind of looking at my phone is I'm looking at the numbers.
The other one to deal with, there was 2 questions, but I haven't finished the question.
The second question was,
I didn't even get to the issue of, it was talking about the issue of Ajakuta steel and everything.
Yes.
All those projects will be looked into, see their viability.
What are you doing differently from this government? Because this government does have a steel program. And Ajakuta is being discussed while another steel plant has, is in the process of being built.
What
are you going to do differently?
I don't want to say anything we're going to do differently, but we are different people.
Okay.
That's what I believe that.
Okay.
If you believe that 2 of us are well creators, we're not well shared. We didn't benefit from what is being shared. We created wealth. I've created wealth. I've built people. Both in private and as a public person, run corporations that are successful.
As governor of Anambra State,
yes.
When you left office,
yes,
your IGR was 500 million a month. Willie Obianu came, and within months, that IGR had become 1.2, 1.3 million, seemingly able to outperform you. So sometimes when people hear you say,
can I tell you one? Can I tell you one thing? You see, people don't look at the foundation. I built the process that made it possible. It couldn't have been 1 month you did it. Let me tell you, I built. Go and check. No, wait, Kadaria. I built the IGR building, computerized it,
right.
Did everything. So when people say somebody came yesterday and he started working, look at the foundation.
Okay.
It was me who laid the foundation. I made it work. Okay. He didn't print money. Let me not say what happened thereafter. So I built that foundation.
We're going to have to take a quick break, and when we come back, we go to our other remote locations.
SME.
We will pick it up after. I haven't forgotten. We'll pick it up. Don't go away.
Daria Media, in association with Cabal Entertainment, presents The Candidates, a presidential town hall meeting series where the presidential candidates of the 6 leading political parties tell us about their plans for the country. Join Kadaria Ahmed as she leads us into the world of these candidates from the 17th to the 23rd of November 2022. This very important program will be streamed on FRCN, Radio Now, DSTV, NTA, Facebook, YouTube, and more. This is a town hall meeting you shouldn't miss. Tune in. Let's hear from the candidates.
Choosing where to study is one of the biggest decisions you will make in life. So, it is important to get it right. At Coal City University, Enugu, Nigeria, we pride ourselves on providing students a stable academic calendar and education of international standards. Coal City University gives students incredible personal attention and support. You can enroll in our regular programs and obtain a degree exclusively awarded by Coal City University. Alternatively, you can enroll in our international pathway programs, which will enable you earn 2 degrees in 4 years from Coal City University and Delaware State University, United States. Visit www.ccu.edu.ng. Coal City University, education for self-actualization.
Welcome back. You are watching The Candidates, a Daria Media Town Hall series brought to you with the support of the MacArthur Foundation and in partnership with Nigerian Television Authority, Cabal Entertainment, Network Service of Radio Nigeria, Emmanuel Chapel, Citizens Zikoko, Silverbird Television, Trust TV, News Central, and J&J Television. Now let's go to the audience and get a few questions from them. And before we do, I kind of like that you're all here and you're engaged, you're exciting, But if we could keep the noise a little bit down, because it is interrupting a very important conversation. I'm sure you all want people at home to hear him clearly, and for me to be able to allow him to finish answering his question. I would appreciate that. Thank you so much. There's a lady in blue in front and the lady next to her, and then we can go to the back after that. Let's have a few ladies, please. We've not had women speak. We're supposed to have 2 microphones. So where are they? Can you guys move and hand them? She's in front. Please. We will make our way to the back. Let's start with the ladies because we've not had a woman talk. Thank you, ma'am.
Do I have to stand up?
You can sit.
Thank you. Good evening, gentlemen. So I have 3 questions.
They better be fast.
Yes, my name is Ireti Bakari. My first question is to do with SMEs. I'd like to know, most SMEs complain about stealth taxation. Do you intend to eradicate that? If so, would you be able to afford to? Stealth. So there's taxes that are hidden. Stealth, hidden. So triple taxing. That's number 1. Number 2, if you were, and this is hypothetical, but if you were president today, would you sack the CBN governor?
Yeah.
Number 3. Once you become president, are you willing, bold, and brave enough to imprison those found guilty of corruption, including the current president, if he's found guilty?
Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Priscilla Amadi. I'm still going to ask something about SMEs because I'm particularly happy about the fact that the president is very interested in moving the country from consumption to production. According to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, SMEs in Nigeria have contributed about 48% of the national GDP in the last 5 years. With a total number of about 17.4 million, they account for about 50% of industrial jobs and nearly 90% of the manufacturing sector. Now, Mr. Peter, how would you be able to further empower the sector? Because even though they contribute well to the economy, they still face massive challenges, especially in various sectors, including
it's really
lack of
important
skilled
that people
manpower.
keep their questions short. There's
Yes,
a lot
I
of
will.
people who want to ask, and we still have people in Nigerian universities. And if people have asked the same question, please don't repeat it.
It isn't the same. I was coming to the part of empowering the SMEs because they're really facing a lot of challenges.
Okay.
Mr. Peter, what would you do differently, sir?
Thank you. Please give the 3-4 people at the back so many questions. Quick, and we need to be fast.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Santos. I'm from Human Capital Africa, and I'm going to education. You've spoken a lot about education, Mr. Peter. And we're in a region where 9 out of 10 children at the age of 10 can't read with meaning. And foundational learning, it's almost 0. We also are in a region where the Dakar Pact has said that you spend 15 to 20% of your national budget on education. Nigeria spends around 5 to 6%. If you're elected president, how would you address this foundational literacy and numeracy?
Thank you very much. It's important to say that if you insist on prefacing your questions, we can't get everybody in. Your presidential candidate has all the context. He understands the play. So please, no more questions. We're going to the remote sites. Maiduguri is on standby. We've got very limited time. We have to be disciplined. Yeah. Okay, no, let's take a few more from University of Maiduguri, then we'll lump them all together. Yes, Maiduguri, we can hear you.
Good evening, Nigeria. Welcome to University of Maiduguri. We have 2 questions from the students here for the presidential candidate, starting with Abdul Salam. Abdul Salam.
Okay, thank you, sir. My name is Abdul Salam Ilyasu, and my question is, Mr. Obi, what can you do to convince a rural man who has been influenced by the existence of PDP and APC to vote for Labour Party? Thank you, sir.
Next, we have Sado Ella.
Good evening. My name is
political allegiance. Yes, please carry on.
Good evening. My name is Sadu Banyawa from the University of Maiduguri. Nigeria has been designated as one of the poverty capitals of the world. I want to know what the presidential candidate and his deputy plan, what's their plan to reduce the rate of poverty in the country, and also what strategies will they employ to bridge the gap between low-income earners and the middle class? Thank you.
Okay, so just to also say, thank you very much, Maiduguri. Can people please try not to repeat questions? We've got very limited time, and it's important that we give them an opportunity to talk about as many things as possible. So if someone has already asked a question, please don't repeat it. Okay, Saz. Let's come back to you.
Well, let me start from issue of Maiduguri, because I'm sure there's a long way to ask this. It says, what are you going to do, if I understand the first question, to make people to move away from PDP and APC to Labour Party? I think it's very simple. They drove us at this junction. If you have a driver that has driven a vehicle where you've come to a point where the vehicle have an engine problem, the vehicle can no longer move, you're not going to allow the same driver to continue.
But, Mr. Obi,
we want to fix this vehicle.
But you were that vehicle. Just as early as 2019, you were in PDP.
Listen,
he was in PDP.
No, 1 minute.
And APC.
No. Let me tell you.
ANPP.
Let me tell you. Moses lived in Egypt.
Okay.
So was Joseph. They were part of it. God comes and chooses from within. He's not going to create new people. From within those who are there already.
Package the new bottles.
No, this is new wine. But we have been existing with the old wine because they are not. But they found out that we cannot continue living with this. You know, it's like you live in an environment where you find out that this environment, you're not part of it. All the first-class leaders that we have all over the world, we are part of the same society. But they decided we can no longer live this way. Even discoveries with all the people who have done it everywhere, it is people challenging the status quo. That's what we're doing today.
Okay.
That's what Labour Party is doing.
I mean,
that's why you're seeing something different.
So, people will say you are status quo, but let's move on.
How do we pull people out of poverty?
Yes.
I got the question.
And will you sack CBN governor?
No, I'm going to come to that.
Okay.
You know, pulling people out of the poverty is what we are preaching when we are taking from consumption to production.
The problem is that we're not getting a grasp of exactly how this is going to happen.
You are not seeing it. It doesn't see when you want to change a society, because majority of the people, including yourself, live off the old order. They don't see the future. That's why they say leader must be a visionary.
We want to understand the vision.
Let me give you an example. Yes. When I went to Anambra State and said to people, our education cannot continue to be at 26. We're going to change our education. We're going to change this. They say, no, you can't do this because we're not seeing it. You know, when you were talking about me being impeached in production, you forgot that when I challenged my election, people say it's impossible to come through the court. When I was impeached, people say it's impossible to come back. And later, when I challenged interpretation of tenure of governor, they say it's impossible. So people are not seeing that. We are creators. We're seeing the future. And I can tell you, how do people
and let me just clarify. We are not saying you don't have a vision.
Let me tell you.
What we want to see is understand the roadmap to that vision.
I want to tell you the how. People are here about MSMEs. Micro, small businesses is the foundation of every economy, even in the South, in the West.
Globally.
The two, let me use what we can call a developing and those who are starting, to give you an example. And I'm going to use big countries like China, Indonesia, and Vietnam. These three, to give you an example. In China, MSMEs controls 60% of the production, 60% of the export, and about 60% of the employment. And they contribute 50% of the revenue.
So how is that going to happen here?
Thank you. First is that you must articulate a proper agenda like China. In China today, if you look at the overall banking lending in China, about 20% to 25% of the lending is dedicated to MSMEs. In Indonesia, there's a ministry for MSMEs because they control 90% of the employment. So is it in Vietnam. In Nigeria, out of about, I think it's over 30 trillion lending today and everything, MSMEs control less than 5%.
So how are you going to encourage banks, which are private enterprises, to give loans to SMEs? Because this is the answers we're looking for.
Listen, I'm coming from that side.
Okay.
Don't forget.
I know. That's why I'm asking.
My life is about finance. That's what I've done all my life. It's a combination of two main things. You have to have a fiscal and monetary policies channel like this. Government grants.
Anchor farmer borrower programs?
No, not, yes, but done differently. Not announced in Abuja, but dealing with the Bank of Industry and going to deal with the people, the farmers. Because what you have now is that good programs announced on TV, but poorly implemented. People don't do what is expected here, they do what is expected. I will be there with the farmers. I'll be there with the people. I'll supply it directly and I'll get it done.
Daria,
yes.
Can I just comment?
Yes, please.
Mr. President, our candidates told us that corruption kills hard work, enterprise, and innovation. There is a certain disequilibrium in our system. You see, necessity is the mother of innovation. We need to innovate, force people to leave the present preoccupation, which is government contract, and go into SMEs. So we have to do it by force.
Okay.
That is what I need you to see. Now, let me answer you.
When Bielsa has finished talking...
Hold on, let me just answer you.
Okay, just finish this. Okay, go on.
Yes. If anybody can get a government contract and make 9 times profit from that simply because he's a relative, acquaintance, gatekeeper, or influencer in government, such people will never go into enterprise. Here is a government coming into place to say that there is no more easy money. That 90%, 9 times 900% profit you used to make is no longer there. That money belongs to all Nigerians. That is what we are going to do that is different. When Nigerians realize that they can't go and rely on their relatives in government to make easy money, they have to go into industrialization.
Okay. And I will ask you again how when we come back, but we've got Bielsa on the line.
In one sentence. Let me give you in one sentence what he's saying, which we have already discussed everywhere. We must stop people wealth without enterprise.
Thank you.
All wealth must come with enterprise.
Okay. And again, I will come back to the how after we have spoken to Bielsa. Hello, Bielsa.
Good evening, Kadaria. Welcome to Bielsa State. My name is Victor Pinawari, and we have 2 people that will be asking questions from this station. I would like to move to Emmanuel quickly. Emmanuel, please step forward and ask your question.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, well, we can't hear you. We seem to have audio problems. So I think maybe if we go back to the questions around political, CBN governor and political allegiance.
Let me tell you.
Are you back, Bayelsa? Okay.
My question.
Okay.
His Excellency, this question is for you. Today, more Nigerians
are leaving the country to Europe and other parts of the world. Doctors are leaving and our best brains are leaving. If you become the president of Nigeria, how will you reverse this trend of mass exodus of our people? How will you make Nigeria acceptable and livable for its people? Also, if you become the president of this country, by which constitution will you operate in this country? If you are to operate with the illegitimate 1999 constitution, why will you do that? Thank you.
Okay, quickly we'll move to Honorable Elliot for his question.
Good evening, Mr. Peter Obi and his wife. I am Augustus Elliot Osomo, a former legislator from Bayelsa State. Should you become the president of this country, how would you solve the problem of environmental pollution in the Niger Delta region, where the wealth of this nation comes from? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bayelsa. And because we're running out of time, I'm going quickly to Enugu before we come back to Mr. Obi and Dr. Baba Ahmed. Enugu, can you hear us? Okay, well, Enugu doesn't seem to be ready, so we'll go back to the answers to these questions.
Well, the issue of sacking of CBN government.
Yes.
Here, Enugu.
Right, okay. I'm sorry. All right, we can hear you.
Good evening from Enugu. I am Informa Ajuwobi. Got two questions. Blessing and Valentine have some questions and they would address it to the candidate. Valentine, please, let's hear you.
My name is Valentine Obelago. I'm greetings from Enugu. Please, my first question is, you have spoken a lot about improving the agricultural production in the north. But please, how would they achieve this, given that there's a very high amount of banditry in the recent years? And my second question is that, if you're elected, how would you curb or put reforms to stop other criminal activities in the country, such as the unknown gunmen in the east and the kidnappings around the entire nation? Thank you.
We have Blessing on standby as well for her question. Blessing.
Good evening from Enugu. My name is Blessing Cheze. Sir, if elected the president of Nigeria, you said you will remove subsidy. So I want to know, how do you intend to manage the effects of subsidy removal on the masses, particularly? Because this will result to the increase of the cost of fuel and also to the increase of commodities in the market. Thank you.
That's so much we have from Enugu. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And if you could treat this almost like a rapid fire round because of time.
Second of CBN governor, it depends on the reason. You can't just get up and sack CBN governor.
Are you happy with his performance now?
Well, I'm not. I didn't appoint this one.
But you are going to. If you become president, you will inherit him.
No. Don't worry. What will happen then? When I become, and I will deal with that matter. Then you have only 1 year to go. So don't worry. I'm not going to sack him.
Okay.
But I assure you, it depends on what is happening then.
Right.
On issue of fighting corruption, my position is known. I'm not going to fight corruption by being vindictive. We're going to study, make sure that the proper investigation and everything. We're not going to criminalize the country the way it's being done now, where they're running after people up and down. If you don't like somebody's case, you just nickname them. No. We will operate by the rule of law.
Will you do this?
There will be law and order.
I will ask you this question
there's the proper investigation, there's the proper this. Where we'll even negotiate, I'll negotiate.
That's why I'm asking, because
I don't
you
need
keep
people
referring
be in
to
jail.
Indonesia.
What I need is money to come back, so I can use it to work. If you put people in jail and they take away the money, what are we going to do? With other countries of the world who have done it better, and I'll learn from them. If it means
we
that,
already have a law here, the whistleblower laws, the
let
laws
me tell you,
that
I'm not going to go back.
Okay.
I'm going to put a new law from the day I start.
Right.
If you take money, this is what is going to, but nobody will take, because I'm sure they will know that if I'm not taking, it shouldn't take. But
the laws,
going back,
as president,
I'm going to go back in an organized manner. I'm not going to go and be running around all over the place.
okay, but because you refer to, you will make laws. Laws are made by the National Assembly.
That's what I'm saying. I'm going to go to National Assembly and say, this is a law for corruption. And this is how we intend to implement it.
And if they refuse to sign it?
No, there's things we'll do. No, don't worry. I'm there with it now in Anambra State. Go and see. No money was missing in Anambra State. If it was missing, Kadaria, it is not easy for somebody to leave an office where nobody is asking you and you left $150 million.
According to the person who came after you, you left dead. That argument has been going back. He said you had contractors to pay and you didn't pay them.
Listen very well. Up to today,
I'm quoting the Sun interview by Mr. Willie Obiano.
Listen very careful, Kadaria. Listen to me. Up to today, I've said this, and let me say it now in this town hall meeting. The day I left office, I was not only one contractor who have executed his job, certificate issue. Let that one come. I'm not only one supplier who have delivered what we ordered and we're owing the part. Wasn't owing civil servant salary, pension, gratuity. If any of them come out today, I will stop.
Okay, so let me ask for clarity. Let me ask for clarity.
It is a very different thing if I award a contract for 9-kilometer road. Somebody build 1 kilometer and I pay him.
Yes, no.
Because I will only pay for what I receive.
So the allegation he made was that just before you left office, you gave out a lot of contracts and he had to deal with paying for those contracts.
Leave allegation.
Okay, I'll leave allegation.
Let's deal with issue that is real. Let me tell you how government works. If, for example, let the government, outgoing government of Buhari, award all the roads.
When you come, you will pay.
No, when I come, the one you do, you pay. Another person will come, do his own and pay. Okay. That's how you can. Nobody finishes everything. That's why I said that the one I've not done, let other people complete it.
There was a question about the constitution that was described as illegitimate and whether you will work with it.
There's a lot of
questions.
There's a lot of questions which we need to quickly deal with.
We still have to deal with
somebody
Abuja.
With issue. So, issue of brain drain.
Yes.
Let me tell you, everywhere in the world where there's been a brain drain, actually, if they do the right thing, you know what will happen? All those brain drain, I tell them, there will be brain gain. Because they'll be the first investors to come back when I and Datti start turning around here. They will come back with their investment. The first foreign investor you attract in any country is people who have left from your system, who have made money abroad. When they now see opportunity here, they will come back. Like I always say, when people go, but that's what remittances, I said we'll double it. How are we going to double it? When we produce a conducive environment for them to bring more money. Today they are remitting only 5% of their income. They will remit 10 to 20. But they start coming back to invest here. It is more conducive. They start coming back for holidays and everything. And we'll do that. So brain drain will be brain gain in the future. Watch it happen. Issue of constitution. It's neither here nor there. What am I saying? Any constitution, don't forget that a country like Britain doesn't have a written constitution. Any constitution is prone to amendment. That's why we're talking about restructuring. We will sit down and come out. Don't call it a fraudulent constitution. We haven't even implemented that, the fraudulent one, justly. So let's start with it, and then we will amend it in order or restructure it as we agreed. Right. It's a government of consensus. We're not going to govern by military might. It is, we have to sit down with everybody, agree this is what we are going to do, and everything.
Yes.
SMS by stealth, the stealth taxes of the SMSs.
I've said that the engine of growth is MSMEs. I was answering when we got in. I told you, MSMEs is the engine in which we're going to develop the place by putting money, supporting our youth. The greatest asset of this country today, physical human asset, is our youth. With energy and talent. What they need is for us to put money into them. If we put money into them today, you could, when we talk about anything, whether it's agriculture or this, like I have to say, remove corruption. No easy money. Corruption is entrepreneurship. You get these young ones to be able to be supported physically in everything. Let me give you just in closing, because I'm sure you will say,
well, we still have a few remote sites as well. So, yeah.
Melu Foundation said that for every young person they gave $5,000 every year. They found out that a year or so after, the person is employing 20%.
Okay.
My sister, this country have borrowed in the past 8 years about $100 billion. If we have decided to use 10 billion to share it among us,
okay.
Can you do the number?
I am trying to.
It'll be phenomenal.
Yeah, but the thing is, Mr. Obi, part of the times like when we sort of talk to you, why I sometimes get a little bit, is that
go and ask Evelyn Oputu, still alive. I was the first governor in Nigeria to go to Bank of Industry. In fact, shockingly, it happened on a Sunday. I said, MD, can I come and see you? He said, when? I said, can I come tomorrow? I was calling her on Saturday. He said, tomorrow, but I have to go to church. I said, when I'm coming to see you, it's about church. Church is about solving. We all go there to pray for God to solve our problem. Part of it is we will pray and God will solve the problem I'm coming to. I went to our office on Sunday. I said, Anambra State wants to partner with Bank of Industry, where we will invest 50% of what we're going to bring. You bring 50% and you lend money to MSMEs in Anambra State. One act. Is that?
And what's the result of that intervention?
Well, the result is for you to go and look.
No,
you know, people have said
there are Nigerians that can't go to Anambra. You have to tell them.
In 2014, when I left office, go and check. In terms of poverty, lowest place we have poverty, Anambra is number 3 with 11.2%.
Okay.
People, I've heard people even say, I said, they don't know. 11.2. After Lagos, is one of that states, is Anambra State. Go and check.
Thank you very much. We need to go to Abuja quickly. We're running out of time, and I don't want people who've taken the trouble to sit down. Oh, where are we going? The social media questions are not ready. Is Abuja ready? Okay. All right. So we'll carry on talking. Let me.
Okay,
yes.
can I just
you want to say
add
something?
2 things regarding the Nigerian youth flowing out of Nigeria?
Yeah.
I said that it is better to have brain drain than to have a brain in the drain. It is necessary to protect the future of our youth by allowing them to go and get the careers they can get elsewhere and otherwise they could not have been able to get here. That is when His Excellency said that, and that can be followed by brain gain. Then the other issue I want to add here is that why buy fuel cheap and buy security expensively. This has to do with the removal of subsidy. Some people are simply looking at the price of refined petroleum products. You buy it cheap, and then you buy security more expensive. Does that make sense? And what we're saying is that there is a way to reform governance at the same time reshaping industries and businesses. So if you remove what is in subsidy and solve the problem of security, security is cheaper. You cannot put a naira figure to it.
Okay. So, I mean, we keep talking about subsidy
this is by far a better gain, trade-off to make. It's more sensible. It touches the entire society. Who has a car, who doesn't have a car, consuming security. But
I hear you, but if I could ask, for a sort of a more broadened conversation around energy and energy security and diversification and the fact that increasingly, very soon, our oil is actually going to be worthless because, the rest of the world is moving and looking at doing clean energy and all sorts of things. And I'm just sitting here and I'm wondering whether you guys have put together a policy that is in tandem with the realities of today and tomorrow and what is being projected to happen. Because even the petrol, even if we now go back to, let's say, full production, within a very short period of time, our oil is no longer going to be valuable. Maybe to us, right? But not to the rest of the world. And so I'm listening, I'm thinking, okay, where is the sort of the forward thinking, the ideas?
That's what we're telling you about production.
You are talking in generalities and not specific.
It's the generality. I've told you that it's a simple thing. We will invest in key development areas, which is, if you talk about HDI, you talk about HDI, what is in HDI?
Right.
Health, education, and per capita.
Okay.
Which is pulling people out of poverty.
Yes.
The question you ask is,
how are you delivering health, for example?
As governor, what did I do to these three?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, doctors were on strike during your time for about 11 months.
You see, even teachers were on strike. So it's not only doctors. And when they go to strike, but when you bring a change, all those who live off the old order will go on strike.
Okay.
Nigeria will be on strike when we start.
Let's be
because let me tell you, when all these people who are living off the old order are going to protest.
Okay. You realize I keep trying to get us to go to the granular level, and we keep talking about generalities. Right.
When I became
so
governor,
health, for example, let me ask specific questions.
When I became
At the
governor,
moment, you talk about human capital.
When I became governor, we decided we were going to deal with health.
Yes.
We found out we didn't even have the human infrastructure needed for primary care. No single school of nursing, midwifery, health technology, everything was accredited in the entire state. And it's on tape, so go and verify. I said, listen, we're going to deal with it. They came with all sorts of plans. I said, no, we're going to partner with agencies that are dealing with it already. We have Church of Nigeria. They have School of Nursing, School of Midwifery, all this in a hospital called Iyenu. We have other facilities owned by these churches and development agencies. So where are we going to put money doing a new one? Because you're talking about strike. Because if I put money down, today go to Anambra State, we have over a dozen combined School of Nursing, School of Midwifery, School of Health Technology, all functional. I built the fastest teaching hospital ever built in Federal Republic of Nigeria. Odumegwu Ojukwu Teaching Hospital today. He has built the biggest private hospital, teaching hospital in Nigeria today. I built the fastest as a governor. So I can go on and tell you what I did in health.
Yes.
In education, I don't need to. Only just yesterday, a bishop said, Peter should be able to replicate what he did in education nationally, where we move from number 26 to number 1. Besides, the only measure of development between the year 2000 and year 2015 is Millennium Development Goals.
Yes.
I started implementing it in year 2007. When it was concluded in year 2015, I was number 1 in this country. So it is not a question of how. On top of all this that I said, I've said it where you say people are doubting. I've called the 3 banks where I left money. None of them have ever come and say, I didn't leave money. What you hear is that, not even the person that handed over say I didn't leave money. All you hear is that this youth, this group, that group, I didn't hand over to a group, I handed over to somebody. And I want that person to come and say, I didn't see this money.
Okay. Let me quickly just ask you to dive a little bit, the issue of health. Only 3% of Nigerians at the moment have any sort of proper health coverage.
Yes.
And the reason why I've been asking you to sort of go into this with a bit more detail is because I've seen bits and pieces of you talking about a plan
you have to deal with
to
the
give
issue of insurance.
So I wanted to get a sense
you
of what that means.
The issue of health insurance.
Okay.
That is what is done everywhere in the world. By getting everybody in that basket, you're going to get the big, the small, and everything. That is what you need to.
So private-driven healthcare through insurance.
Government has to contribute.
So government will pay for some of it.
Majorly, because that's the only way those facilities can reach the poor.
But
if the government doesn't pay,
government at the moment is struggling, and we're seeing that even our main resource, oil, is dwindling in value globally.
Listen, government is struggling because you're not doing the right things. You're not investing. You're borrowing money and throwing it away. You're borrowing money and people are stealing it. If you do the right thing, you create wealth. No government is stationary. You know, if other governments can do it, we can do it here. Sure. We're going to do the right things. Government, there's too much waste.
Okay, so there's a question here that I've been trying to get to because people have been sending things online. And how much priority are you willing to give foundational learning, primary school education, compared with other stages of education? I think somebody else asked
Foundation learning is the key.
Right.
It's the first thing, it's the critical thing. Remember what I told you, 3 things is what you use to measure development. The more educated your people are, the more development you have.
Right.
Today, you cannot, your human capital is about 168.
Okay.
It's very low.
I'm going to ask you to make your closing statements because unfortunately, despite our best efforts, we have not been able to even get through to Abuja. I'm sure they will be disappointed, and we're about to wrap. So essentially, if you could tell me what your unique selling point is, tell Nigerians in a nutshell, again, remind them why when February they go to the polls, they should vote for the 2 of you.
Okay. 2 of us have appealed to Nigerians. Next year's election should not be based on tribe. No tribe buys bread cheaper or have better roads and everything. It should not be based on religion. No religion buys bread cheaper or have been able to employ everything. It should not be based on my turn. It is turn of Nigerians to take back their country. We have promised we will secure and unite this country.
That's your promise.
We have promised we will ensure that we move Nigeria from consumption to production, start pulling people out of poverty. We will ensure we will work with rule of law, deal with the issue of corruption, where we bring it to a minimum. We will govern from the front. We'll be in charge. And we'll make Nigeria work where today we have a Nigeria, but we don't have Nigerians. We will create Nigerians who will be proud of their country because we'll be in charge. It will stop at our desk. And we work as a brother, No team in this equation can beat our team.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Obi and Dr. Datti Baba Ahmed, for honoring our invitation to take part in this town hall. Our gratitude to the MacArthur Foundation, who made the candidates today possible. We would also like to thank our other partners, Nigeria Television Authority, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, Zikoko Citizen. I'm struggling to remember the partners. Trust TV, Silverbird TV, KAFTAN TV, Injenje TV. Join us again tomorrow for the 5th and second to the last edition of The Candidates. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.